Hey everybody, welcome back to the Movie Sports Podcast for March 10th, 2025. We got a jam-packed show for you. As always, three topics. Starting off with Chris Uminski joining me to talk all about the Brad Marchand trade. A trade that shook the foundation not only of his Bruins fandom, but of, I think, many people's Bruins fandom. This was a shocking move by the franchise. So a lot of interesting stuff in that conversation. You're not going to want to miss it. Then talk about a couple of quarterbacks, one on the move, one staying put and signing a gigantic new deal. Without further ado, let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome back to Power Play. I'm joined as always by Chris Uminski. And Chris, I feel like I don't even have to ask, but I still will. How are you doing today?
All right, so where do we begin?
Yeah, where do we begin? So the Bruins have made some moves. Not necessarily the moves any of us expected or wanted. Floor is yours, Chris. Tell us all about it.
So yesterday was the NHL trade deadline, which is always an exciting time of year. And we all knew that the Bruins were going to be sellers going into this. We are probably due for a rebuild. We're not in a playoff spot as it stands right now. And there were some pretty big moves made. We started, I guess I'll just go through some of them. Charlie Coyle, that was the first kind of, I don't know if it was a surprise, but the first sort of big move. Charlie Coyle, of course, the pride of Weymouth, was traded to the Colorado Avalanche for a D-man, Casey Mittelstadt, and a prospect, William Zellers, and a second-round pick in the 2025 draft.
All right, so for that one, how do you feel about the value the Bruins got in return for it?
I think this was a good move. Of all the moves that were made yesterday, I think this is the best one. We desperately need help on defense. Charlie Coyle is, I wouldn't say he's the biggest star on the team, but he was definitely at a point. He's got an expiring contract coming up. He's going to be expensive. And he has value, so remove him, get somebody good in return.
So more or less, you were okay with that one.
Yeah, I suppose.
Okay. All right.
About as good as I can be for a guy like Charlie Coyle being moved.
Mm-hmm. All right. So what other moves did they make?
They moved Mark McLaughlin yesterday too. He's been in and out. He's been in and out of the minors, in and out of the league. That's not a particularly sad move. I think that we got some good value for him too. There's also another rather surprising move. We brought back Jacob Lauko.
Okay.
Which he was. I thought that he was kind of a nobody when he was with us before.
Okay, fair.
So, I mean, whatever. Maybe he'll help. Maybe he won't. But I think, and we got rid of Justin Brazeau for that. He was sort of another drifter of a forward. Mm-hmm. But I think what everyone wants to hear me talk about, what everyone is looking for the reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Is Captain Brad Marchand has been traded to the Florida Panthers.
Yeah. So I guess, what does this feel like? How are you feeling? Do you need anything? What,
Drugs.
Your thoughts, drugs. Yeah.
I need. It's not even the fact that we traded him. He's old. He's hurt. Maybe out for the rest of the year. Who knows? But getting slow on an expiring contract. But for the return that we are getting for a star like Brad Marchand, it's unacceptable.
Yeah.
I cannot Like, we're trading arguably one of the best forwards in the game, for sure Hockey Hall of Famer, for draft picks.
Yeah,
for draft picks, and we don't even sure. One of those is a conditional pick, depending on whether or not he plays a certain number of games for the Panthers.
right.
Which he's hurt right now, so he's not going to get that this year. He's like, who knows what he's going to look like next year for him if he's going to keep playing, if he's going to get hurt. Like, if we want this 2026 first round pick and we don't want it to be a second round pick, he has to meet all these conditions that we have no control over.
Right. So, yeah. I mean, coming into the day, did you have any inclination the Bruins would make such a bold move?
No.
Yeah.
No. There was like rumors coming out, like the Vegas Golden Knights were interested in Marchand. Another big move that happened yesterday, we moved Trent Frederick too, because I guess that's what we're doing. We're getting rid of all the tough guys.
Right.
And he's a Maple Leaf now. That's great. That's fun.
I'm sure you love that.
But like, for the first time in really recent memory, there's no Zdeno Chara, no Patrice Bergeron, no Brad Marchand. Like, how can you do this to the fans, to the team? It's just, I don't think that this was a good move. The return should have been much, much, much higher.
What would you have said would be like a fair trade? What would you have wanted if Don Sweeney called you up? I was like, Chris, we're gonna trade Brad Marchand to somebody. What do you think's fair value for him?
First of all, I'm not trading him in the Eastern Conference, let alone a team that's in our division.
Very fair. Yeah.
In a perfect world, he would have went to the Canucks or the Golden Knights.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have liked maybe another young winger, maybe a couple of D-men, and some draft picks.
Okay.
But you're moving the captain of the team.
Yeah. Yeah, what happens? I've never seen, obviously I'm not a hockey expert. What happens when a captain gets traded in the middle of the season?
Well, we have to find a new captain. Luckily, there are good options out there. I think the two names being discussed are David Pastrnak and Charlie McAvoy.
Mm-hmm. So it would just be like a team vote between those two.
I think it'll be up to the coach. I think the coach is the one that ultimately makes the decision.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be up to the coach. The players will get a say. I'm sure Sweeney will have something to say about it too.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so you wouldn't want to have been in the same conference. You would have wanted it out in the West. So what do you think would have been fair value? Like a first round pick without the conditions, or
first round pick without conditions, and at least a second or third line forward.
Mm-hmm. So not what the Bruins got. I mean, now what, Chris? What's next
now
for
what?
the Bruins?
Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to be watching games next year. Like, who are these people?
Yeah.
I guess I'll be framing my Brad Marchand jersey.
Yep.
And I don't know. It looks like next year the rebuild begins.
Yeah, even before the Marchand trade, I think in our group chat, was it Rhett shared like a simulate to end of season button?
Yeah.
Like now we're really spamming the simulate to end of season button.
Yeah.
So, sorry. Yeah.
I said, yeah, but would the Chell like computer general manager trade Brad Marchand?
No, probably not. I guess from Florida's perspective, like how big of a get is this for them?
Florida was already a scary physical team to begin with. Now you're adding Brad Marchand to the same team as Matthew Tkachuk and Sam Bennett. Which, like, yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun to play against.
Right.
Two of the biggest rats in the league. Now you add Brad Marchand to that mix. They're going to win a cup again.
That TikToker is going to have to buy new gear now. He can't do his Brad Marchand character as the rat in Bruins gear anymore.
Yeah, I think I know the guy who you're talking about.
Yeah, he's very fun on TikTok. But oh man, he got blindsided, I'm sure too.
It's all of us. I think the reaction has almost universally been, "Why did you do this? How long has this been the plan? And why do you still have a job?" All of this directed to John Sweeney.
Yeah. So, do you think just Don Sweeney's going to get fired after this season? I know we talked about maybe happening before.
I think if he is not, if he's got to be on his way out the door, if he's setting the team on fire like this.
Yeah, and I think in our group chat too, you're like, I mean, obviously I like picks, but I don't like the idea of Don Sweeney being the one to make the picks.
No, he sucks at drafting. Last couple of
Oh,
years,
boy.
he's terrible.
What are we going to do here, Chris?
Jump off a bridge.
All right, don't do that. We still need you to cover the rest of the league, even if we don't end up talking much Bruins for the rest of the season.
This is a nightmare, and I just want to wake up.
Yeah. Oh man. Anything else you want to add to this one before we get on out of here?
No, just John Sweeney hates to see this guy coming.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Chris. Anything you want to promote? Floor is yours.
So I'm on TikTok still. Chris Uminski's still on Twitter for now. That's at Chris_Uminski. I'm in a band, B6 Plus. Go follow us.
Yes,
The show's coming up. Show's coming up in April.
Nice. Where are you going to be playing?
We're going to be playing at the Hotel Vernon on April 25th in Worcester. We're also going to be playing
as it gets closer. So
we'll also be playing at JJ's Tavern on the 13th in Florence.
All right. So if you're local, go check Chris and his band out. They're very good, and it'll be nice that you can get Chris's autograph. One for the band, one for the podcast. No, but please, if you're local, go check those shows out. Support your local artists, as they say. And yeah, Chris, anything else? We good?
Nope, I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Yeah, no, please go drown your sorrows or hang out. Just have a great rest of your weekend, because the start of the weekend not great to start. Oh yeah. Man. Well, thank you everyone so much for checking out. If you're watching the main podcast, please subscribe. All that. If you're watching this just as a clip, check out the main podcast, check out all of our other clips, all of the channels, and we will see you in the next one. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about Geno Smith. Geno Smith obviously has revitalized his career with the Seattle Seahawks the last few years. He was a man who many people kind of had written off as a draft bust. As he said, they wrote me off, but I didn't write back. And he has really become a very solid fringe top 10, certainly top 15 quarterback in the league these last few seasons with the Seattle Seahawks. So, I mean, you look at his career stats, right? His career high passing yards was his rookie year of 3,046, and he had 12 touchdowns, 21 interceptions until he joined the Seahawks, where his career high went up to 4,320 yards. That was last year. His career high touchdowns was 30. That was his first year in 2022 with them. And then he had 15, 9, and 11 interceptions last few years. So he's really revitalized his career. Very solid shift for him. But the head coach that brought him in, Pete Carroll, no longer with the franchise. He is now the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. So the Raiders were kind of linked to Matthew Stafford for a little bit. Then he obviously re-signed with the Rams. So then it was like, okay, will, Aaron Rodgers be the guy? Aaron Rodgers, obviously a very talented quarterback, 4-time MVP, comes with a lot of baggage these days, as you well know. If you're watching this show, you know the baggage that Aaron Rodgers comes with. So instead, they make a trade for Geno Smith, and I think this was a great trade, personally. I think that Geno Smith will instantly be much better than everything they have with Gardner Minshew last season, certainly. He's under contract for 2 more years. He signed a 3-year, $75 million contract in March 2023. So it might actually only be under contract for another year. But regardless, this is a big step up for a team that's going to want to be more competitive for that AFC West. I think he instantly, fits in well with the AFC West quarterbacks that they have there already. Obviously, he's no Patrick Mahomes, but who is really? I think, he already better than Bo Nix, obviously. And then, you can make an argument for Justin Herbert. Herbert, of course, has a lot of talent and a lot of untapped potential, whereas Geno Smith seemingly is tapping into his potential. So, again, reunited with Pete Carroll, and I look for the Raiders to really compete now that they have a solid starting quarterback. And as for the Seahawks, it'll be interesting. So I heard that Sam Darnold is the man they're going to be targeting in free agency now that Geno Smith is gone. I am still hesitant on Sam Darnold, and maybe I'm just a hater who's caught up in my ways, but I think, until he has another good season, I can't be like, yeah, this is going to be the norm for Sam Darnold going forward. Even Geno Smith, he had that comeback player of the year season, and then he's backed it up with 2 more solid seasons. So it makes me feel comfortable saying that, he is a good quarterback. So maybe Sam Darnold will come in and continue doing what Geno Smith was doing for the Seahawks. But if you're a Seahawks fan, and if you're a Raiders fan especially, let me know your thoughts about this trade. Are you excited? Will you be running out and buying a Geno Smith jersey? If you're a Raiders fan, let me know. And if you're a Seahawks fan, let me know about how you feel about the potential of Sam Darnold being your starting quarterback. All right, finally, the reigning MVP, Josh Allen. He just got engaged to Haley Steinfeld. Things are going good, and things are, about to get a lot better because he just signed a 6-year and $330 million contract, and he will be the second highest paid per year at $55 million. He gets the most guaranteed money in $250 million of any player ever. $250 million straight up. Even after taxes, still pretty nice haul there for Josh Allen. So I think, this is well deserved, right? Last year, and I feel like people forget it, but as a Dolphins fan, I was in it. I was seeing what people were saying about all the teams, including myself, who said that the Bills got worse than they were last year, so I expect them to do worse. And while I believe that they did get worse from year to year, it didn't matter because Josh Allen just kept getting better. He just kept putting that team on his back and getting them to the playoffs, to ultimately lose to the Chiefs. Obviously, that's very disappointing. And obviously, the Chiefs have been a thorn in his side, have been keeping his legacy from ascending even more. But that being said, he does deserve this money. He is not only the Buffalo Bills offense, he is the Buffalo Bills, period. The man is an absolute weapon. What he does on the ground and through the air, one of the most talented quarterbacks I have ever seen. And, people would ask me to talk about it like, well, do you think he can ever win a Super Bowl? And here's what I'll put it. Yes, the Bills are cursed. Yes, they've had heartbreaking losses. But the way I look at it is when you see a game-to-game basis, do you go in and think Josh Allen can get the Bills a win? Do you think the Bills can win? And my thing is always like, as long as Josh Allen is the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills can win any game. They were the only team to beat the Chiefs until the Broncos' last game of the season, beat their backups, and then the Eagles beat them in the Super Bowl. And obviously the Eagles were a tremendous team this season. But I think, he gives you a chance no matter what, no matter how few weapons the Bills put around him. And I think that this was maybe the best move ever in franchise history, drafting Josh Allen. And I think, he does have the potential to win a Super Bowl with this team. So if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, how do you feel about the contract? $330 million, a lot of money, but he is a top quarterback, top 2 or 3, depending on how you rank quarterbacks. I'd say top 2, personally. $250 million. How do you feel about that? Pretty hefty contract. But again, if anyone deserves it, Josh Allen deserves it, right? And what do you think about the Bills moving forward? Do you think that the Bills have a legitimate chance to win the Super Bowl, as I do with Josh Allen? I'm sure you do, but maybe there'll be some dissenting opinions. Would love to hear those too. And yeah, just give me your general thoughts about Josh Allen's new contract in the comments. Thank you all so much for checking out this episode of the Wicked Good Sports Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell everyone about the Wicked Good Sports Podcast. Main channel is Wicked Good Everything. We do video game and like media essays. And then we have our Fake Nerds channel, which is kind of similar to this. It's nerd pop culture news instead of sports news. And then we have our podcasting channel, which is Better Radio, which has all of our podcasts outside of the sports focused podcasts, which are, of course, on this channel, which again, we appreciate you so much for checking out. We'll see you in the next one.